Did you like either one of these games back in the day? Yeah, me too. Probably just a little too much. Modern Warfare 2 taught me how to quickscope, while Bad Company 2 taught me how to flatten an entire building. Both of these games were my escape from school, puberty, and the paralyzing fear of being picked last in any type of sporting event. One was sweaty, fast chaos, and the other was slower, louder, and somehow made you feel like a retired demolitions expert giving a TED Talk with live ammo. This video isn't just about comparing two shooters, it's deciding which game deserves to sit on the throne of a generation. A generation raised by split-screen betrayals, Mountain Dew-induced insomnia, and the subtle thrill of one of your friends screaming, "Boo!" through a $20 headset. I've broken it down into 10 categories. I've replayed both games, not for fun, but to settle this war. And by the end of the video, one of these games is gonna walk away with the crown. And if you're trying to figure out why I chose these two specific games in each franchise, well, the quick answer is these are the two games that y'all picked on the polls. Y'all voted for them, at least those of you who voted. Also, these are my two favorite games out of each franchise, so it just kind of worked out, thankfully. Category 1, gunplay and feel. Who shoots better? MW2's gunplay was like a sugar rush at a middle school sleepover. Fast, twitchy, explosive, and slightly dangerous to your nervous system. You point, you click, they die. Instant gratification. The time to kill was so short, half of the firefights were decided before you even knew you were in one. That's because MW2 was a hit scan shooter. Bullets landed as soon as you pulled the trigger, and it rewarded map knowledge and raw reaction time over everything else. And it felt amazing, as long as you were the one doing the shooting. Now, Bad Company 2 was a totally different flavor. You actually had to aim. Bullets were projectiles. They had travel time and momentum. Sniping wasn't about just lining up the crosshairs. It was math, prayer, and knowing how to compensate for the wind that wasn't even in the game. And the recoil in MW2, it's pretty manageable. It's almost like every weapon came pre-trained. But in Bad Company 2, every weapon had a personality disorder. The AN-94 kicked like a mule who just found out he's getting replaced by a tractor. But the thing is that friction was intentional. MW2 made you feel like a superhero, while BC2 made you feel like a soldier. One was designed to be slick and satisfying, the other one was built to be immersive and punishing. Like war, but fun enough to still keep playing. MW2 gave you precision where BC2 gave you impact. You could feel the bullets land, and even missing somehow still felt dangerous. This is the difference between cocaine and whiskey. One hits fast while the other one burns slow, but they both leave a mark. If I had to choose, I would give the point to Modern Warfare, simply for feeling better to control. Category 2, map design. Tight corridors or controlled chaos. MW2 maps were like elementary school hallways during a fire drill. Tight, panicked, and full of rage-filled elbows. Terminal, Afghan, and high-rise. They were tight, layered, and carefully choked with kill zones and predictable spawns. It was like playing hide-and-seek in a minefield. You knew where the trouble was coming from, but that really didn't help. Because MW2 followed a 1-2-3 lane map philosophy. Simple to understand, but oh so hard to master. It was surgical. You could hold down areas, rotate between choke points, or camp like a coward and still feel like a genius. Bad Company 2 didn't believe in lanes, it believed in chaos. Maps like these were essentially just huge open-ended playgrounds. And they weren't just maps, they were sandboxes that broke themselves. You'd flank one moment and then your building would collapse, and then suddenly you're flanking through the rubble of your former safe space. The environments were destructible and dynamic, and that meant that the map wasn't just a setting, it was a participant in the fight. Walls vanished, cover disappeared, and that sniper's nest gone in 10 seconds if someone had a thing of C4 and some bad intentions. But there's a trade-off. BC2's chaos made every match feel different, but it also made the map harder to read. MW2's maps were tight and predictable, BC2's were wild and reactive. One gave you control, the other one gave you freedom. So, who wins? I'd give it to MW2, not just for the map design, but how the map stuck in your head long after the matches were over. Category number 3, controls and engine, smooth or sluggish. Next up, we're talking about the controls. MW2 had you moving around like a greased up roach. It was quick, responsive. You call the shots and your operator obeys instantly. It was like the game knew what you wanted to do even before you did. You could instantly snap from sprint to ADS like your character just hit a line of Adderall. Everything was responsive, buttery, tight, jump, prone, reload. Every animation was tuned for speed over realism, and that's not by accident. MW2 was built on the IW 4.0 engine, the same tech that they used in Call of Duty 4, just faster and flashier. This was a game designed to feel good first and look good second. You weren't weighted down, you were a first-person ninja with a machine gun. Bad Company 2, though, came with a different philosophy. It was built on the Frostbite 1.5 engine, which prioritized physics, destruction, and immersion. And that came at a cost, which was mainly your knees. Movement was heavier. Sprinting felt like it actually had weight. You weren't just floating through hallways. You were a dude with gear, ammo, and probably a whole lot of back pain. And that's the trade-off. MW2 made you feel slick, while BC2 made you feel physical. One made you feel like you were flying, while the other one made you feel like you were actually there. So who wins? Well, that's actually a pretty tough call. Call of Duty definitely feels better, but the clunky realism is all a part of Battlefield's charm. This one is about taste, Coke or coffee, jet fuel or diesel. I'm just gonna go ahead and give a point to both of them because what it boils down to is what type of soldier you're trying to be. Category 4, campaign moments. Who brought the hype and the heart? MW2's campaign, well, it was loud and it went for the throat. It played like a fireworks stand exploded inside of a military recruitment video. No Russia is still pretty disturbing, not just because of the violence, but because the game let you walk through that moment. It didn't force your hand, just made you watch. Then you're in space watching an EMP hit America. Also, why did I think this moment was from Call of Duty Ghost? Then you're fighting in the White House, and then after that you're yeeting knives at final bosses like you're trying out for the Olympics. But narratively, it's basically a list of global disasters stitched together with acronyms and betrayal. Still, those moments are unforgettable. Now Bad Company 2's campaign, less famous, but honestly, maybe a bit more fun. You had this ragtag squad, Sweetwater, Haggard, Marlowe, and Redford, cracking jokes, blowing stuff up, and somehow keeping things light in the middle of World War III. It balanced tone better than most other military shooters even attempted. And the pacing was solid, big set pieces, environmental variety, and some surprisingly good voice acting. And unlike MW2, the characters didn't feel like a walking cutscene, they felt like a squad you wanted to fight alongside. Still, there's no denying it, MW2 had the bigger moments, the more iconic levels, and the kind of missions people reference 15 years later like they were historical events. So this point is MW2's for pushing the genre into uncomfortable and unforgotten territory. Category number 5, multiplayer balance, kill streaks or chaos. Let's get one thing out of the way. Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer was gloriously broken. It was a lawless wasteland where your best strategy was to break the game before the other guy. You had one-man army, danger close, and my favorite, Commando Pro. You could grenade launch a man from the other side of the map, straight into the Shadow Realm, and get rewarded for it. And the balance? Dude, MW2 had the balance of a drunk guy on a trampoline, but it was fun. Hitting a quickscope with the intervention, you could feel your soul do a backflip while your brain screamed, "We were made for this!" The kill streak system was, well, it was very powerful. Get 7 kills and you can call in a Harrier strike. Then if that Harrier gets you 4 more kills, you suddenly find yourself in a chopper gunner. Then maybe, just maybe, you can get enough kills to drop a tactical nuke and end the entire match right there. It was snowball design at its peak. Power led to more power. If you were good, it felt euphoric. If you weren't, you were just target practice with legs. I flip over to Bad Company 2. This is a totally different beast. It's not about power trips and kill streaks. It's about discipline and grit. You had to earn your kills. Sniping took patience and bullet drop mastery. Tanks needed engineers to stay alive. And assault classes had to drop ammo for teammates, otherwise they're just dry firing like confused toddlers. Let's not forget, you scored actual points just for simply helping people. Reviving, spotting enemies, dropping health kits. You could top the leaderboards without really ever getting a kill just by being useful. MW2 was about you, and BC2 was all about the squad. So which is better? Honestly, they're kind of too different to compare directly. One was balls to the wall crazy like an action movie that you control, while the other one was structured mayhem, where teamwork actually kind of mattered. But the result is a draw because one screams while the other one growls, but they both had a pretty nasty bite. Yo, what's up everybody? It's your boy Big Hoss. Oh, and here we go again. Y'all talking about multiplayer balance like we ain't gone 25-0 with a heartbeat sensor, insane sensitivity, and controllers held together with duct tape and bad decisions. Y'all sitting here making flowcharts and tier lists. Back in 2009, we didn't give a rip about balance. You picked up the intervention, slapped on FMJ, and prayed your little brother didn't unplug the router trying to microwave a Hot Pocket. And not just any Hot Pocket, I'm talking the ham and cheddar one. Back when they had real deli sliced meat in there. Not the little hamster shavings that they use now. Back when you'd bite into it and the ham would fold out like a treasure map. Now, it's just sadness soup in a bread envelope. Anyway, I keep hearing y'all talk about teamwork in Battlefield. Listen, if I want to coordinate with 4 strangers, I go to couples therapy. Me, I prefer MW2, where you spawn in, die, yell, and immediately run back to the same rooftop like a revenge-fueled divorced dad sprinting back to Applebee's for round 2. You know how many hours I put into MW2? All of them. I once dropped a nuke during a thunderstorm while my girlfriend was breaking up with me on speakerphone. Still won, and I'm still single. Modern Warfare 2 was peak America, baby. Kill streaks, danger close, intervention, no rules. It was like playing dodgeball with explosives in the middle of a Bass Pro Shop. And Battlefield, that's for men who know the word suppressing fire. Call of Duty's for men who suppress their emotions. If you got a problem with it, 1v1 me on Rust or shut up. Sound design. Category number 6 is sound design. It's one of those things you don't really notice until it's missing. But when it's done right, it hits harder than the smell of Axe body spray in a 7th grade locker room. MW2's sound was clean. The guns were satisfying, loud, crisp, and punchy. But a lot of them started to kind of sound the same after a while, like they pitched one gunshot up or down and slapped a metal clang on top. And that said, the voice acting was kinda top tier. Ghost, Price, Soap, Shepard, they all felt like they had a story. Now, Bad Company 2, each weapon had its own personality. The M60 felt like a monster truck chewing gravel. It was a total different story. The guns didn't just sound cool, but they sounded angry. And the explosions, good lord, I've heard BC2 mortars hit louder than actual fireworks. I remember turning up my surround sound and feeling the windows shake whenever a grenade would explode. But the real star was the environmental sounds. Buildings crumbled with layered debris sounds. Bullets whiz past you with different directions. You can hear the battlefield breathing. In MW2, the sound served the action, but in Bad Company 2, the sound was the action. This point goes to Bad Company 2 for making war sound like a living, terrifying thing, and for giving every gunshot its own personality. Category number 7, graphics. Which one aged better? You remember booting up an old game and going, man, I sure do remember this looking better back in the day. Well, yeah, that's most PS3 and 360 games, but these two, they actually still hold their own, just in very different ways. MW2 is clean, sharp. It aged like a screenshot that got frozen in time. Textures were good. Lighting was simple but stylish. Explosions were flashy but not really messy. And the game had this hyper-saturated military filter, like the whole world was made of olive drab and hurt feelings. It looked good, and it still kinda does. Bad Company 2 looks like it was filmed during a forest fire and edited by someone who's seen every war movie twice. That Frostbite 1.5 engine put in some work. Lighting changed with weather, the skyboxes were dynamic, the fog rolled in on purpose. There's depth, atmosphere, dust in the air, shadows that move when trees do. But the real flex is the destruction, because in MW2, a wall is a wall. But in BC2, a wall is just merely a suggestion. The destruction made every environment feel alive. It wasn't just visual flair, but it actually affected gameplay. If someone's camping upstairs, you don't flank them, you delete the floor beneath them. Modern Warfare is polished, but Bad Company is immersive. So I'm gonna give this one to Bad Company. Category 8, team play or solo, squad up or go Rambo. And next up is multiplayer. MW2 didn't care if you had friends. You spawned in, you sprinted towards your last death like a revenge-fueled golden retriever. And that's the beauty of MW2, it was a lone wolf simulator. You could carry the whole match or rage quit and message the enemy team that they're lucky your controller was broken. Bad Company 2, that game was like, hey, maybe if we worked together, we wouldn't die as much. It rewarded team-based gameplay. You had roles. BC2 gave you XP for helping, not just for kills. And like I said earlier, MW2 is all about you, all about your kill streaks, stats, and highlights. BC2, it's about the collective. You either win as a team or go down as a bunch of wounded medics dry firing at enemies in the middle of a field because someone forgot to bring ammo. So what's better? Honestly, it came down to what kind of player you were. Do you want to feel like a one-man army or part of a machine bigger than yourself where every class actually mattered? For pushing team play without forcing it and to make supportive roles feel just as important as the top fraggers. So this is another point for Bad Company 2. Category number 9, Legacy and Influence. Which one changed gaming? Now let's be real for a second. Modern Warfare 2 didn't change Call of Duty, but it changed us. It changed the internet. It changed, for better and most definitely worse, the way middle schoolers communicated. This was the game that brought you quick scoping montages, search and destroy beef, and 1v1 me on Rust into the culture. It made online multiplayer mainstream, not just for gamers, but for everybody. People who'd never touched a controller suddenly knew what a tactical nuke was. They literally had a commercial called "Everyone is doing it," and they weren't really lying.
It's safe to say that everyone is doing it.
Even your cousin who only played hunting games, Madden, and NASCAR was out here running intervention classes like it was his second job. And that wasn't an accident. Infinity Ward designed MW2 to be flashy, fast, and addictive. It was a social glue, LAN parties, Xbox Live chat rooms, after school squads staying up too late. And yeah, it was toxic, but it was also amazingly fun. Now, what about Bad Company? Well, it was influential too, but in quieter and smarter ways. It laid the groundwork for what Battlefield would become. Rush mode, squad mechanics, environmental destruction as gameplay, not just spectacle. And that influence carried into Battlefield 3, 4, and beyond. BC2 was a thinking man's war game. The strategist's shooter. It didn't have the same cultural blast radius as MW2, but it pushed forward multiplayer in ways Modern Warfare never even dreamed of. But if we're talking pure legacy and which game left a crater on the culture, I gotta give this point to Modern Warfare 2. Category number 10 is simply fun factor. Which game would you play right now? Let's stop thinking and just feel for a second. You've got both discs in front of you. It's a Friday night. There's no updates, no patches, no battle passes, just the game, the console, and a bag of Doritos that expired in 2010. Which disc are you popping in? Modern Warfare 2? Campaign, multiplayer, that unholy collection of Spec Ops missions that tested friendships and blood pressure. Snatch and grab on veteran difficulty broke me as a teenager. That mission alone took a piece of my soul. We beat it eventually, but my lord, it was hard. Now BC2, that sandbox is still alive. The destruction, the teamwork, the long-range sniper battles that made you feel like an actual operator instead of just a cracked-out teenager with fast thumbs. Plus, the chaos always felt fresh. Every match had a different rhythm, a different explosion, a different "oops, I made the building collapse on our whole squad" type moment. But the thing is, Modern Warfare 2 gave you more to do. BC2's campaign was fun, but just like Modern Warfare's, it was really short. And the co-op mode was sold separately as DLC. Modern Warfare 2, you got all 3 full experiences on the disc, and they all hit. This point is going to the game that arguably gave you the most bang for your buck, the most chaos, and the most opportunities to ruin a perfectly good friendship. And that's another point for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, making it today's winner. Even if MW2 wins on paper, this whole thing was just my personal opinion. I love Bad Company, and I still do, but Modern Warfare defined an entire era of my life. It was late night LAN parties where someone always tripped over the Ethernet cord. It was heated arguments in GameStop about which sniper was better. it was me and my dad staying up till 3 in the morning trading off the controller. And the game that me and my buddies still play 4-player split screen on the rare occasion that we actually get to all hang out at the same time. So yeah, MW2 might have the crown in this video, but that doesn't make BC2 any less great. It just means that Modern Warfare was a once-in-a-lifetime storm that hit when all the stars lined up, at least for me. But if BC2 is your crown holder, you're definitely not wrong. You're just lucky that you got to grow up with both. Because out of all the generations in human history, me and you got to grow up with one of the greatest FPS eras of all time. And if you enjoyed this versus video, click over here to watch another versus video where I look at 2 of the greatest spooky games of all time with Silent Hill 2 versus Resident Evil 4. And if y'all like these versus videos, let me know down in the comments and I'll put out some more polls because I really enjoy making these kinds of videos. So other than that, y'all stay safe and we'll see y'all next week.